Are you ready? Are you ready to welcome me? Yes. Okay. One, two, three. Mina teacher.
Hi guys. My name's Mina. I'm part of the EM leadership. I don't know if all of you know me. Hi. Good. I drove 5 minutes to get here, so I live really close. uh, let's see. So for the background, so the next slide. I already said I'm part of EM leadership. I work alongside with like Yuhyun, who I guess has spoken here already on computer science or programming. Um, I graduated from Cooper Union with a major in electrical engineering, and now I'm a project engineer in a construction company called PJS Group. So I'm all the way on the left, and the rest are men. There's no other women in that group. I'm breaking ceilings. I don't know if you can see me. We're so orange and yellow, like that's the safety color. You cannot enter a job site without PPE on. Um, but yeah, that's Tower 1, or the Freedom Tower. And then next to it is the Performing Arts Center, which is still under construction under Xiaomi, which is a private construction company. And I work below that building, so you will never see me down there if you ever go to New York City. Um, let's see. So my company is a GC, or a general contracting company. We work usually in civil. So basically, it's like civil engineering work. It involves concrete or sometimes asphalt on roadways. We usually work for like Port Authority, MTA, DASNY, TBTA. And the way it generally works is like these public or government agencies, they'll hire engineers and architects. They'll prepare plans and specs. They'll send that out to bid, and then all these construction companies, as long as you qualify, you can submit your bid, which usually involves getting a runner. Runner means a driver. So you pay someone to literally take your bid, which is like a couple hundred pages, a couple CDs, because they're still kind of outdated. They don't take email bids. You have to physically go to their office and drop it off. And then usually what happens is the lowest bid wins. So I think the last project, my company usually does like 5 mil to $30 million projects. I think that's like medium sized. But once you get the lowest bid, usually it's given to the lowest bid because, of course, if you have a budget, you want to give it to the cheapest person who's also the most qualified. So you still have to go through an interview process. But once you get awarded as the low bid, you get conform plans and specs, which is basically the latest one. It includes all the addendums that have been issued during bid time, because sometimes updates are made or maybe revisions. And then from there, it's the construction. So I don't really have pictures. I don't know. I wasn't sure if I should show you guys pictures of what I do because it's actually confidential, I guess. So I didn't put any pictures of it. And even if I showed you, it's all concrete walls. It's architectural fit out projects. So there's nothing there. The only thing there is a shell, which is like rebar, which is, I guess, like steel rods that go in concrete. But you probably, if you're ever down in downtown, like you see the cranes and the boom lift, and then maybe a concrete pump because you can't bring concrete trucks inside the building. But anyway, so I'm, what is it? This company uses union labor, so like you know how like there are people that like wait on the streets and you pick them up and then you bring them to do like construction projects. So that's non-union labor usually. Union labor, you have to go to the union hall and you get to pay them certain rates. So your rates are public. People know what you get paid, and it's usually for anything from laborers, plumbers, electricians, and then you have your own district that you're able to work in. So that's another part of the construction industry. Um, but my projects, I've been on building, architectural fit out. I did one on Pier 5. It's called the Boathouse. It looks like a little lantern. And flood barriers. So I actually haven't really done much civil engineering stuff. And like I said, I currently work on the World Trade Center site. So I guess on the next one, so my path here, I think I came to Dongsan around 2003. So it's been a long time. I can't do the math right now. So anyway. So I was also in youth group band, and I guess God deemed it fit that there were enough girls and boys that we had an alternating boys group and girls group. So I did praise like every 2 weeks, technically, and came on Friday and Saturday and practiced, kind of like you guys did tonight. Um, so was it? Oh, so the second point, I determined my strengths to be in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I just I just kind of knew I was good at math, so when I applied to colleges, I mostly applied for computer engineering or electrical engineering, and I got accepted to Cooper Union, which is on like 7th Street and First Third Avenue, Third Avenue. Um, and then it was a tough college. I think in like sophomore year is really tough. I think at that point, I wasn't going to Tongsan at the time, but I found another church in the city, because I think from the city I had to take the subway and I had to take the bus. I think it took 2 hours or something. I don't know, but I went to a local church in the city, and I think that was like the lowest point. Like I was struggling a lot with grades and whatnot, because in sophomore year I think I took 21 credits, which was like the base requirement, which is like 6 or 7 classes. So I had to like figure out how to prioritize which classes I needed to kind of survive through. But anyway, so junior year I interned. I applied for electrical engineering and project management internships. And it's kind of funny because I got an internship with Port Authority at the World Trade Center at the Oculus, which is right next door to where I work right now. And I was an intern. So when you're an intern, they make you walk around and do a lot of menial or tedious things. So I was looking at all the conduit. I was trying to figure out where each point went where. Anyway, so from there I was like, okay, electrical engineering is not really my thing. I applied for project management positions based on that internship. And at my interview with the company that I still work with now, I told them I wanted to do project management. Even though I was applying for systems engineering, which is more a IT field, because I also did a track in computer engineering, so I knew how to maintain servers and I know how to program, and I like make Rubik's cubes and made an amplifier for my school project. So they took me in, and then from there I did systems engineer for 2 years in IT, junior estimator for 1 year. So I was help preparing those bids where you have to, I guess, put a sum together in order to win these projects. And then I became a junior manager, project manager in Brooklyn. And then from there, I went on to the Port Authority job. I became a quality manager, which is very different from project manager. In terms of that quality manager, it's more document based. And whereas for project management, you really need to be good at negotiating, I guess, especially for change orders and knowing the scope of your work. Because you don't want to do work on your project that's not in your contract, because then you're basically giving them free labor, and that money, that budget is your company's money. It's not really your money. So it'd be really tough to tell your boss that you spent money that you shouldn't have. So this job that I'm on is really a civil engineering background. I learned a lot, I guess, on the project. Usually for civil engineers, you would apply for the fundamentals of engineering exam, which is the FE exam, and then after you meet the required number of years, you would take your PE exam. And from there, you would go on to an engineering firm, or you would go into project management usually. And then the last point, I am still at a point where I'm trying to find my career, actually. I thought it was project management, and then last year, or rather 2 years ago, right before COVID, I figured that project management wasn't really something that I wanted to continue in, because negotiation, I think, was the toughest part. I was good at keeping track of all the documentation and doing the scheduling and the coordination. But negotiating change orders and money was something that I'm not like too confident in yet. So if I want to go to the next slide and tie in my typical duties, as a project manager, you have a budget. So your company makes that budget based on how much money they bid on this contract, right? So obviously you want to set a profit aside so you can pay your overhead. Your overhead meaning your HR lady, your receptionist, the finance department. The finance department people pay everybody the money or the wages that they're owed, and then your bosses. So above the managers, there's the executives. Above the executive, there's the vice president, and then above the vice president, there's the president, and then there's CEO. So there's a whole hierarchy. which I think is typical across the companies anyway. So for the budget, you would usually use cost codes. They're just numbers. It differs per company, and they're broken down between labor, material, equipment, subcontractor, and I guess other categories as they see fit. Because I guess your boss or my boss needs to know how much money you're using, and time on this project to see if they're still going to hit that profit. Because if you don't make a profit, the company doesn't have a positive cash input, then the company doesn't survive. And for construction, you're in it for the profit. So now there's also the CPM schedule. So with every project in the spec, they also give you a kind of like a time limit. They tell you you need to be done in a year or two, a year or 6 months. And if you pass that date, you usually pay a fine or there's some sort of penalty, right? So else projects will never be done on time. It's actually funny because the project I'm on now is actually like 3 years late. But anyway, that's just part of the job. Procurement, purchase orders, POs, and subcontracts usually, it's like legal paperwork when, let's say, I need to buy like 150 fire extinguishers. I have to write a purchase order to a vendor. Else, if let's say they just give me like 140, I can argue like, hey, I gave you a contract for X amount of dollars for 150. Why aren't you just sending me this material? Because that's what I'm owed. That's just a small scale. We give out subcontracts to like metal panels, steel contractors. So like structural steel beams, it's usually like local 40 in the area. And then for coordination, so you need to make sure that all your vendors and subcontractors have the right paperwork. So at bid time, they give you a conform set of plans and specs, but sometimes they issue bulletins, which is more changes, or maybe something was missing on the drawings. And that's when discussions come in about change orders, and you submit submittals to make sure that you get approved by the engineer and the architect. So we call them the EOR or the AOR, the engineer of record or the architect of record. The engineer of record is always a PE. That's what certifies you to be a professional engineer, and you get to design systems. So we don't just build buildings because someone drew it up. Like they had to perform calculations and make sure that the building is structurally sound. And then the architect would also design it the way that they want it to be aesthetically. So as a contractor, it's kind of harder for me to sympathize or kind of be on the same page as the architect. So usually, I have an architect friend, we usually make jokes at each other that we don't understand what the other person wants. But anyway. There's also requisitions, so every month you would also have to charge the client money. Because let's say we want to bid we have a contract for 20 million. You're not going to bill all $20 million in the first month of the project. You're always going to bill what you did. And usually they have inspectors on site seeing what you did. So you always put a percentage, like, oh, we put in like 20% of the concrete, or we put in like 35% of the rebar, and you always also take out retainage. So for every project, retainage is different. That's the money that they hold back to make sure that by the time the project completes, they still have 20% of your money that they won't give you until they are satisfied with the work that you have done. So it's kind of like their insurance and their hold on the construction company. So as a contractor, I am under pressure to stay under the budget and also to finish the work on time so that I can get this 20% or whatever percentage the retainage is, and to cash it in for my company. Typical day, I start work at 7, so I take the train. I wake up at 5, I take the train at 5:50, 5:40? Yeah, 5:40. So I drive to the train, I take the train, 40 minutes to Grand Central, 15 minutes through the subway, and then I walk down 3 flights to my field office. So I don't have an office. My field office is actually made up of plywood, like 4x8 plywood. If you guys have been to Home Depot, you just get fire-rated plywood, you just make a box. I shouldn't just say make a box. It's very sound. Like it's 2 stories, and we have 8 companies there, but so there's no like working bathroom. Usually you get like the porta-johns. I'm sure you guys have used one before. It's not like the best. So I usually walk off my job site and I go use the actual bathroom in the Oculus, and those are much nicer anyway. Um, what else? I guess I'll go to the next slide and then thoughts. So I am work in a small group. So I'm currently the project engineer on the job. So what that means is I usually come up with sketches with the superintendent. So the superintendent is the guy that's in charge of the workforce or the laborers. So all the people in the picture in the first or the second slide, the superintendent is the one that assigns them to certain locations and tells them what to do. And then there's also the senior project manager. He's the one that really focuses on the budget and the schedule. I focus more on the document control, like the submittals, making sure that the guys are, let's say, they're pouring a stair landings. I just have to make sure that they're using the right concrete mix, because if they need a minimum of 4,500 PSI, they can't be using a mix that only attains 3,000 PSI in 28 days. And then I guess for your job, it's good to determine what you're good at or what you like to do. Like I said before, I'm still, I don't really have a career goal currently. If you asked me 2 years ago, I would have said project management. So I guess it's important to know what you want to do and what you like to do, and then kind of move forward with it. And I just kind of have to trust in God to know that He is leading me the way that I need to go. And it's kind of funny because my dream, even though I don't have a career goal, my dream job was to build houses, in not even a third world country, just even in America, just to build houses, and just to help out with the community. And I think that's where my interest came in with project management, because in construction you can see what you're actually building. You're not just drawing sketches, you're actually helping to make the actual physical living space. And then there are always opportunities around you, Habitat for Humanity. I actually did that with EM couple years ago. It kind of sucks because the one in New Rochelle actually changed for some legal reason, but they called for volunteers, and we actually went to a house and put in molding. The weirdest volunteer one was when they had us sanding benches out on the public street, but it's a nonprofit company. But there's always opportunities around you. There's always online courses as well, like Coursera. I think it's been mentioned before. Coursera has online stuff. And then if you kind of want to see what the job descriptions or the salaries are like, there's always Glassdoor, or if you want to go to government where they offer you pension, there's usajobs.gov. But you guys are in high school or younger. I don't know if you would really look into that yet. And then if you want to go into project management, like I said before, you just have to be really good at negotiating. I think you should be more of an assertive personality. I'm more of a detail-oriented personality, which I figured out after I've been with the company 8 years now. So you do have to get hot-headed sometimes to bring your point across, but I guess that's just the nature of the job. You can get your PE. Project managers, they usually don't have to stamp drawings. You're not told to design whole buildings as a project manager, but if you do have the PE certification, that's almost a shoo-in and a big raise. I don't have a PE. As an electrical engineer, you don't really need a PE. Usually you would have gone into software engineering or signal processing, but that's a whole entirely new field. There's also other certifications. I have the LEED certification. I don't know if you guys know about green buildings. They're supposed to be more energy efficient, made with better recyclable materials, renewable materials, and whatnot. That one, I studied alone. I took the exam. It's a 2-part exam, and then you get the certification, and you just have to keep your continuing education credits. And in construction, you also need your OSHA certification. It's right now I have my 30-hour OSHA, which means I sat in a class for a week. What is that, 6 hours every day? And in New York City, and it's only in New York City. You have to take it every 5 years. It's their way of making sure that you know you're up to date with your safety standards. And I also had to take a scaffolding course. So you have to take a 4-hour scaffolding course to even walk on the scaffolds on the project. So for construction, there's a lot of certifications and trainings that you need to even be able to walk on site. So I guess my takeaway is if you like kind of getting down and dirty, I guess, because I guess 25% of the time I am on site. And when I go to work, I just wear a hoodie and jeans and steel toe boots or composite toe boots, which are pretty heavy. But I don't want a nail to go through my foot because the construction site is never clean. And there are rats running around, like especially after 3:30, they run around like crazy. It's kind of funny. They're pretty big too. They're like, anyway. Um, uh, so yeah, if you want to do project management, I would encourage going into civil engineering. Just know that it relies on mathematics and physics. So if that's not your thing, like, just know ahead of time. I knew I didn't like chemistry in high school, so I crossed that out. Any questions? I think that's it. Hi. Hi. We're good.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Johnny. You mentioned the LEED certification. So I know a lot of corporations nowadays are trying to be more environmentally conscious. I think as the world is becoming more environmentally cautious, and more pressure is being put on them. Do you see the construction industry going above and beyond the bare minimum? Like, is that now like a trend that you're seeing more with jobs, or is it still like whatever the LEED certification standards are? I don't know if that makes sense. Like, do you see that trend happening in the construction industry too? This environmentally conscious mindset.
I think in retail it'll be more, but it's like a mix. Like LEED's not the only green certification. There's like well and water sense, which is basically like its name states. It only focuses on the water. I guess the amount of water that a building uses. For I guess the public agency, I haven't really seen many LEED requirements. Like my first project, the reason I got the LEED certification was because they required silver certification, which was 50 points, 50 to 59. And we got 51 or 52 points because we aimed for 60 in case we didn't get the 10. But if you walk through the city, they usually have like a plaque at the lobby. So I think more for residential and retail, they are pursuing the green or going above what they require. As a contractor, I don't really want to go above and beyond because that means more time and money. And I guess my days are kind of long. On my previous project, I went to work at 7 and I left at like 6, 7. So, yeah, no. Right now it's 7 to 4, which is more normal. But yeah, I'm just saying, as a contractor, just meet the requirement.
You get to beat rush hour though, with leaving.
Oh yeah, I'm in the train at 5:40, so it's pretty empty.
I have a second question. Is there something that you learned on the job? By the way, kids, there are a lot of things you learn on the job. College does not teach you everything. It teaches you like 20% of things, maybe. Reality check. Anyway, are there things that you wish things that you learned on the job that you wish you maybe took a class in at school, or you wish that it was taught in your engineering classes in general?
I don't think it would pertain to my job, but I wish there was a finance class, honestly, so I could learn how to invest. I see you there. Investing, and then I guess if I took a scheduling class, but if I really wanted to, I could have taken a master's in construction management. And I actually really did like what I did at my college. So if I were to go back, I would have actually done electrical engineering again. Anything else? Any other questions?
I have a couple of questions from the chat.
The chat?
Yeah, from the Zoom
What chat?
chat.
Oh. Oh my gosh, I'm rambling to the internet.
The first question is, if you could go back to being a senior in high school, would you take the same major and career path that you did? And if you don't, what would you want to do instead and why?
Oh. Well, so my brain went in two directions. So if, let's say, money wasn't an issue, I probably wouldn't be here. I'd probably be building houses somewhere without a care in the world if money wasn't an issue. But I actually, if I was a high school senior, I still would have applied to electrical computer engineering because at that time, that was what I was most confident in. I didn't really like English. I just knew I had to be in STEM. And it might sound sexist, but as like a female in engineering, especially electrical engineering, there were way more scholarship opportunities. Like when I applied to colleges, some of them offered me scholarships because I was a woman in that field. At my college, I think chemical engineering was was like 80% women, and then civil engineering was half and half. Mechanical was like 70% men to 30% women, and then electrical was like 10% women to 90% men. So it was very skewed. Would I have stayed at the company? I guess so. I think it's just personality-wise. Once I decide to do something, I like to stick with it. I think that's just who I am, which is why I've been at this company for so long, for 8 years. Usually construction people don't do this. Usually you would want to move on to a different company because what happens is you get a good substantial raise and you might get like a better title, or maybe you can argue for better working conditions. Did that answer the chat question?
Yes, we also have a second question,
Okay.
which is, you mentioned you got scholarships because you were a woman in a heavily male industry or major. Did you run into any challenges working in a very male-dominated working environment?
No. I mean, at work, sometimes there are situations where I wonder if they're like giving me this price for proposal because I'm a woman and they think I don't know anything about it, which kind of pisses me off thinking about it. But in school I didn't face anything like bad because I was a woman in engineering. Because if you look at it overall, the average ratio was still almost like half and half, men and women. It was just the electrical engineering and the chemical engineering departments that were skewed to either one or the other. But yeah, I don't know about these days because I graduated 8 years ago. I don't know if it's still the same. Hi. We're all good? Oh, you want a question? Oh, oh, the mic? Oh, the internet.
Are you satisfied with your salary and working conditions?
Oh, good question. Cause all right, so regardless of my position, right, you should. I guess the advice that I'm told, and I guess I will share, even though I'm kind of stubborn about it, is you should always look to get a raise, no matter what job you're in, right? Because especially if you feel like you're worth more than what you're given. Given that if you are an entry level, though, the salary that they offer you can't ask for a raise like in the first year, right? That's a little much. My salary right now, I did want to ask for a raise because my coworker quit and they're taking my superintendent from me to a Grand Central job, and they're giving me a new superintendent who it takes me a while to trust someone with certain work responsibilities. So right now I'm in a spot where I am not too satisfied with my working conditions because they didn't replace the coworker that quit, and they're taking the superintendent that was on the job for 2 years. Like, why would you take someone who knows the job to another job? But anyway, That's not my call. Salary wise, I am okay with it. I did want to ask for a raise because of the reasons I stated before, but due to the coronavirus, they released a memo and they were like, "Oh, we can't give out raises this year." And I raised that, and I just went, "Great." So more than a neutral position, I guess I'm more towards a dissatisfied for this year. Last year, I was very satisfied because I got a 10K raise, so I can't argue against that. Yeah. I know. I should have asked for it sooner. Hi. Um, work-wise or like right now? Right now? Oh, I already told the guys I really don't like public speaking, so if you find me rambling, I'm sorry, but after. You always give hugs. But yeah, I'm okay right now. Mm.
Okay, I have a last question.
Mm.
Do you have any advice to students who will to decide the job the someday? 그러니까 학생들한테 주고 싶은 any advice가 있나요? 언젠가 잡을 결정하고
Mhm.
언젠가 어른이 될 텐데 좀 biblically 좀 해주실 조언이 마지막으로 있는지.
I guess in high school, as someone who still does not know or not still, I did think I knew, but now do not know what I want to do as the end goal. I guess just focus on what you like to do. Because in the end, like you spend a lot of time at work, and hopefully it's something that you enjoy doing, or if it's not something that you somewhat enjoy doing, maybe the benefits of the job will get you through. But that's not like me biblically speaking. That's like objectively speaking. Cause but for biblically, I prayed a lot, and I always wondered, like I grew up in New York, and I always wondered if I should move from this state to a different state because the standards of livings are already very different as you go from state to state, and obviously the views and the perspectives are different. Um, but it's not like I ever doubted like where I was going at all. I mean, in college, I was very down because of my grades, because sophomore year was really tough, but I never really doubted how I was moving forward. I guess, which is why if I were to go back to high school and choose my college again and my major, I would have still made the same choices because I trust that that is who I guess made me today, and that is where God wants me to go. So I'm like not clear where He wants me to go right now, but like I don't doubt that this is like where I need to be, even though I have questions in terms of a career perspective. Hi.
Okay, any question? No. 아, 좀 끝내기 전에 do you have any prayer request?
Prayer request?
Yeah, we want to pray
Oh.
for you.
Oh,
this
for
time.
me?
Yeah.
Oh no, you guys should pray as a congregation. I guess for you guys, it's for your vision seminar. So I pray that God will show you guys what you really like to do, or even if it's something that you don't enjoy 100%, maybe you have an inclination towards. I guess just trust that He will kind of guide you in that direction. Even though it might not seem like He might not pop out of the clouds and be like, "Hey, I want you to be a doctor" or something, right? But which it sounds nice. Like if God just showed up and just told me like, "Hey, I want you to like go to Europe and just start building rivers and boats or whatever." I don't know. I'm just spewing nonsense. But I guess I just pray that for you guys to just rely on God more, and to I guess like know what He wants you to do, be it at work or even in church. whatever it may be. I guess what is it? Your foundation, your faith foundation. Yeah.
Okay. I'm really happy to we have so many good role model. 우리가 많은 좋은 롤 모델이 있다는 게 참 좋은 것 같아요. So you guys, you are don't understanding what is this time, but someday when you grow up to decide your new job, you gotta remember the Mina teacher and the Helen and the Ben or Johnny teacher. So 선생님들 좀 기억함으로써 너희들이 10년 뒤, 20년 뒤에 좀 좋은 길을 따라갔으면 좋겠습니다. So in this time, let us pray together for the Mina teacher. All right. Okay, let's pray together. I pray for you. Let us pray together. Pray. 하나님 감사합니다. 우리에게 좋은 시간을 허락해 주시고 이 시간을 통해서 우리가 당신의 나라를 꿈꾸게 해주심에 감사합니다. 사랑하는 미나 선생님이 걸어온 시간 우리가 짧게 들었지만 이 시간들이 얼마나 눈물의 시간이었는지 얼마나 감사의 시간이었는지 지금 당신께서는 아십니다. 미나 선생님의 삶의 나눔을 통하여 우리 아이들이 언젠가 그때가 됐을 때 우리 선생님이 이렇게 하셨는데 또한 저렇게 하셨는데 라는 것들을 기억함으로써 그 길을 따라갈 수 있게 하시고 또한 우리 아이들이 또한 선생님과 같은 좋은 또 모델이 될 수 있도록 주님 도와주십시오. 미나 선생님의 앞으로의 삶 가운데 함께 해주시고 언제나 주님께서 계획하신 길 가운데로 따라갈 수 있도록 도와주시기를 간절히 요청합니다. 감사합니다 주님. 예수님의 이름으로 기도했습니다. 아멘. 우리 박수 한번 칩시다.